Welcome to World Talk with Friends, where the small world we live on becomes smaller as we discover neighborhoods all over the world by simply talking to our neighbors. This is Haggy Shack Radio Production, simulcast over Wolf Spirit Radio Network. Colleen Kelly is producing with friends Nancy, Nora, Neil, and those we have yet to meet. Welcome to our world. Hello, everybody out there. This is November 23rd, 2016. You're listening to the World Talk with Friends radio show. My name's Nancy Hopkins. Colleen Kelly is producing and co-hosting. We have Nora Willow with us, who was our co-host. And we have Barbara Threecrow, who was a guest 2 weeks ago, and we brought her back because we had so much fun the last time. So I'm just going to say hi to everybody. Barb, we're going to talk to you. You're depressed because you've been looking at the water thing and the earth thing. So we're going to talk about that because hopefully at the end of this we'll be less depressed. Would you like to say hi to the audience?
Yeah, hi everyone. And I'm sad. My heart is really sad because every day new information is coming out about what's really going on all over. It's not just at Standing Rock. So some of it we've known, and some of it, of course, is very well covered up. So just in this moment before you called, I was just connected with this whistleblower, and so I'm looking at this information and, drop it into that really sadness because this man, the whistleblower, was weeping, and it's very deep, So, but I'm okay, I'm glad to be here with everyone, and thank you so much. And and I just want to say that I know that everybody wants everything to be bright and shiny and no pressure, but I realize that, this is where we are today, and this is real stuff, and it's difficult. It's hard, but, I personally cannot ignore it or act like it's a la-di-da day, because this is a matter of life and death, and so I'm not making a downer here. I'm just kind of like telling it like it is. So thank you for inviting me.
Well, we do have to tell it like it is. Nora, how are you doing? She's in Italy, everybody. She's in Italy.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Nancy, Barbara, Colleen. I'm very happy to be here, as always. I have to share Barbara's sentiment because I, as well, have been feeling a bit down today. And I had a very long and deep conversation with the creator, and a very contemplative day for me. So it's interesting that Barbara, you're bringing this up and how you're feeling. I think that unfortunately a lot of us, because we want a more positive outlook on things and we want things to be better, we tend to shy away from what's really happening. But, feeling down or feeling sad is not being negative. It's just part of the human experience. And we all know that coming here was not going to be easy. So it's just part of the learning experience. There's a lesson behind all this, an opportunity for growth. And the thing that made me burst into tears today was when I heard the word forgiveness. So I think the main job is to get to the point where we can forgive people and forgive ourselves as well. It's all about forgiveness, but it's a process. Now, I have to say that I am feeling a little bit disassociated, which is very strange because I'm feeling sad, but I'm feeling that as well. So, there's a strange energy. It seems to be getting stranger and stranger every week, in my opinion, at least. I
totally agree with you.
Can I just?
Sure,
I'm sorry. Yeah, no, go ahead. Yeah, let's
I was just going to say, Colleen, are you here with us today?
Yes, I am here. However, we're seeming to have a problem with the stream.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, I'm showing that it's fine on all my indicators, but they're saying it's looping. So I'm going to reboot this one machine, the broadcaster, and see if that fixes it. So, in the meantime, they're not hearing us, so I'm Whatever you want to do while I'm doing this.
Okay, are you going to reconnect the call, or are you just going to reboot the machine?
I'm going to reboot the broadcaster. Skype seems to be okay.
All right. Okay, so we'll just talk amongst ourselves. Let us know when you're back.
Will do.
Well, I know that one thing, that's all what this is, That's how I see it, anyway.
Yeah.
I first off, I'm kind of in la-di-da land because I see it as being. Walt and I were talking about this last night, that in the beginning of this year, I had this thing about we needed to find out what the indigenous people knew and worked with that we need to know to progress ourselves.
We're live.
And he goes into this weird thing about, Colleen, are you there? Are we back?
Yeah, so just continue on.
Oh, we are live now?
We should be, yes.
Okay. For those of you because we had a little technical problem here, so I'm not sure when we actually started going live. But Barbara is talking about the heavy energy that is so associated with the Dakota Pipeline event. And I'll call it an event because it's more than just a protest. It is an event. You have the Native Americans who came together for the first time since 100 years ago in order to sort of like draw the line in the sand regarding Mother Earth and the water. They don't think of themselves as protesters. They call themselves protectors. That's a massive... You can't underestimate what that means. You're protecting. You're not protesting, you are protecting. Now, when you get into that concept of protecting, you're getting into a concept of, are you protecting until they put pepper gas on you? Are you protecting until they douse you with water in the freezing cold? Are you protecting until they come in with a bulldozer and take out your entire camp area? When does it stop? I mean, are you willing to put your life on the line? When you get into that kind of real intense looking at life, not as a protest, but as a battle, a pitched battle, there is a tremendous amount of, let's say, sobriety involved in it. When we were talking about it, I said, we need to find out what they know. They've got something that is going to allow us to take the next leap, and I don't think we can do it without that. And Walt went into this whole thing about some science, I forget what it was, but that, is talking in terms of how you like he was talking about a plant, and it starts out with one leaf, and then it goes to 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5. And how does the plant know where it's in its cycle? And the cycle is, well, what did I do the time before? What was it? And we've lost track of what was it. So we're missing something. We have to go back. We have to make that connection. We have to learn. And I tried to put together a few shows, but it just wasn't getting any leg room. And so then a little bit later we came to the realization of the uranium in the water throughout the northwest, central western area, the whole area, anywhere it goes back to, they gave the land to the Native Americans or the Indians or the first family because they thought it was worthless. And then they found out, it's got all this oil and it's got this uranium, and so they started to renege on everything they had said in order to get to the uranium. And then they completely destroyed the well systems of the Native Americans. So Walt is suggesting that we, do something about cleaning up the water, metaphysically, etherically, using the jinn and the angels and the thoughts of human beings. And, we had proved we could do it with the Gold King mine disaster. We had proved it. But what I got was, no, we can't initiate this as a free will situation, and the Native Americans have to start it. They have to ask for help. They have to say, we can't do this by ourselves. You've got to help us before we can even think to do it. So we were talking about that, and we got into the concept of what happened on the Brady Ranch. Because if you remember the story, it was a couple of years ago.
Bundy.
And Brady was an Bradley.
Bundy.
What? Bundy. Oh, sorry about that. Don't know why I go to Brady. Bundy. Thank you. And they had been letting their cattle graze on this area that then the Fed said, well, you can't do this anymore because of some tortoise that's lived there for hundreds and thousands of years probably and still is all right, but all of a sudden it becomes the point at which the Feds were using to take over the land and take it away from this farmer who happened to be a white man. And it really, I was very involved in it because it represented a difference, it was hold on just a second, let me just get rid of that phone. See how quick it is when you say on radio and hang up. Hopefully it wasn't anybody that was dying. Okay, so the concept here was that it was a white man and his people fighting for land that the Feds never should have had any right to. All over the United States, American militia types, started mobilizing. And because it was a state rights thing, I was really kind of like, yeah, let's have it out right now because the states own the property, the federal government has no right to it, but they've continually done this, taken it. Not just from the first families, but from everybody. But it didn't happen because the militia came out and so the Feds backed off. You got the same situation occurring, only on a much more universal way, in that these people are fighting for the water. As Colleen pointed out to me, I didn't know this, that the Missouri River actually ends up touching all the other rivers. So should that get polluted because they're putting a pipeline underneath it, if that should become polluted, you're talking about, the whole United States is in jeopardy. So these people are fighting for everybody. And still, there was no seemingly response by the white people. Because why? They're Native Americans. They're not white people. So you've got a different look at what is occurring, even though it's basically over the same kind of concept of these big corporations doing what they want to anybody. Then this morning I get on and I see that, in fact, there are veterans that are starting to take up the call.
Well, there has been a lot of different nations going there, from not just First Nations or Indian people. There's been numerous different. There's been people from Africa. There's been people, white people from all over, going to Standing Rock. Huh?
Palestine as well.
And Palestine, and there's
Australia.
Been Australia, just tons and tons of all different nations, people coming there. And the people at Standing Rock, the Indians there have put it out right from the beginning. We need your help. We need your help. This is for you, not just us. And, and now it's wonderful, the veterans are stepping up too. And this fella, this John Bullenbow that I sent out this link to earlier on the chat, he's a Navy veteran, Bronze Star, and he has turned whistleblower because he worked for these oil companies. He lived on the Kalamazoo River when the tar sands oil spill occurred in 2010, and he's documented the horrors there and the sickness of the people in the community, himself, his family, pets, all kinds of things, and thousands and thousands and thousands of fish, geese, ducks, swans, all life there along that Kalamazoo River was destroyed because of this oil spill. It's not if the oil spills under the Missouri River with the Dapo pipeline, it's when it's inevitable. He's showing the numerous oil spills that have been covered up. Nobody knows about them. Nobody. So this is what we're up against, and so you have the people at Standing Rock. It's not just, like I say, they're not just fighting for their territory and their water. You're right, Nancy, all that water in the Missouri River. And anyway, water always connects to all water sources. Even though we don't see it visibly, beneath the earth, the waters are all linked. So it's not just, but so it's very serious what's happening there at Standing Rock. And they have been asking for help. But one thing they're saying is, and it was just a recent post on their Facebook, is that they need the people to come there to pray. This is the power of prayer that these people know, you see. They have the sacred items. They have the sacred pipe. They have the way of communicating with the spirits, with the ancestors. And they say they want the people to come there and pray. It's not about people. It's not a show. It's not the Woodstock event, where you go there and say, hey, I was there. They need people to come there to really be warriors for the mother and the water. And they're just what you said, this is putting your life on the line. These people are willing to die for the water, for their generations coming. And that's what it's about, the warrior. Are we willing to do this? Because that's what we have to do. We can't just sit on our duffs and say, well, that's too bad what's happening there, because it's affecting every one of us.
Well, I think that's what they're there to teach us, is pray.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, that to me is what they're demonstrating. Let me just. Okay, so what's happened is you've got these veterans who are on the 4th of December going to go on out there. And the guy that is seemingly, really the leader of it is a man whose father was a 4-star general. And his name is Clark, Wesley Clark Jr. And what they did was they put together an operational plan, just like a military would do. This is our goals, this is the way we're going to do it. And they presented that to the veterans out there and said, are you willing to come and do this? Now, nobody knows how many people are going to show up, but I found it very interesting what the plan is, because it's taking it. Well, let me just read it, and then you guys can talk about, what this particular plan of this military group. Okay, on December 4th, Clark Jr. and Wood Jr., along with a group of veterans and other folks in the bravery business, as Wood Jr. puts it, 500 total is the goal, but they're hoping for more, will muster at Standing Rock. The following morning, they will join members of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, including Young, who is the woman an elderly woman who actually got in contact with Clark to start this up, for a traditional healing ceremony. With an eye towards the media, old military uniforms will be donned so that if the veterans are brutalized by the police, they are brutalized not as ordinary citizens, but as people who once served the government they are protesting against. Then body armor, earplugs, and gas masks will be issued to those who didn't bring their own. Bagpipes will play, and traditional Sioux war songs will be sung. The music will continue as everyone marches together to the banks of the Missouri, on the other side of which a line of guards in riot gear will be standing ready with rifles, mace, batons, and dogs. Then the veterans and their allies, or at least the ones who are brave enough, will lock arms and cross the river in a massive line for the first encounter with the opposing forces. The goal is to make it to the drilling pad and surround it arm in arm. That will require making it through the line of guards, who have repelled other such attempts with a level of physical force Sioux tribal members and protesters have described as excessive, claims that recently prompted a United Nations investigation. Of course, that's what the body armor and gas masks are for. We'll have those people who will recognize that they are not willing to take a bullet, and those who recognize that they are, says Wood Jr. It's okay for some of them to step back, but Wes and I have no intentions of doing so. And we know there's going to be a lot of Native Americans that are also going to be there because that's what it's about. So you have the potential for creating a very bad situation in that the line is drawn. You see, where we're at right now is that the pipe just needs to go under the Missouri. It's like a last-ditch stand. The Army Corps, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has said, stop the action. But it's the corporation that is continuing to do this. And the guy that's president of the corporation says, oh, we got no problem. When Trump gets in, I gave him $100,000 for his campaign, so when he gets in, he's going to make it so anyway. I have no doubt about that this is going to happen. So it's getting kind of, the potential for violence here is definitely escalated. So what you've got is you've got the concept of prayer versus the concept of physical intimidation by the other side, and now being a group of people who are willing to go in there without weapons and say, you're going to stop. So the whole thing is escalating, and that makes it more critical. Who's going to win out? Those people that are going to stand there and just hold their ground and cause a terrible problem, or are the prayers, are the ceremonies, are the open hearts going to be enough to make them stand down? What do you think, guys?
What's coming to my mind in this moment is two things. That the ramping up of the attacks on the people protectors, the ramping up, it's obvious, and we knew that it was going to get worse for them. And the elders had even asked the young people to go home because they knew what was going to be coming. Of course, the young people say, no, we're not leaving. But I see that they're afraid, not the people, not the protectors. They're warriors for the mother, for the water, generations to come. That's why they're there. The others are afraid. They're afraid of that love of the mother, the water, the protectors. They're afraid. They see, no, they're not leaving. So now they're ramping up their attack and assault, and anyone in authority, if there is anyone out there, isn't saying a word about it. President Obama hasn't done anything about it. Yes, the Corps of Engineers has said stop the digging, but they're still setting the pipes. They're determined, and yes, Trump is a key piece here, and the arrogance of those corporations, So the other side is the side of the sacredness of things, the prayers, the sacred pipe, the chanumpa, the people in ceremony, the dedication that they have always held to the mother and to life, to water is life. That's a power. They listen to the Creator. They listen to the mother. They're in communication with the ancestors. So what's going on that higher plane? You see, to me, it's extraordinary. Yes, the tribes have come together for the first time in actually over 100 years to stand together. Some of them have not really been aligned with each other since the beginning of time. Now they are aligning because they know how serious this is. This is a matter of the coming generations and of everybody's life. Then you have young people coming from all over. Then you have people, like we just said, different tribes from all over the world. This is world activity here, world action for the water, because water is being assaulted everywhere, not just in Standing Rock. All over the world, people are waking up. That's a beautiful piece. You see that. People are stepping out, stepping up, doing whatever they can to help this situation, to end this. Then you have these veterans coming in. You have people of all nations, of all walks of life coming together. This is monumental. something big is going on here. It's not just protecting the water or speaking your piece. It's something bigger. And so you say, okay, now you have these veterans who are going to come in and they're asking, the warriors, are you willing to die for life, the life of the water and the life of your generations? That's where it's coming. Then you have police, up to 50 policemen who have been there at Standing Rock, who have quit their jobs and are now standing with Standing Rock. This is huge. So something bigger is going on here, and I mean, we've all known that this is going to get to a point where lives are going to be lost. Just this woman was, an elder went into cardiac arrest there because she was doused with that heavy-duty water in 20-degree weather. They had to revive her right there on the ground. A young woman was shot with some projectile. She may lose her arm. And, of course, the sheriff is denying that they had anything to do with it, Nobody's saying a word. It's just like complete silence from people who could actually do something about this. The people are not going to stop. So when the people determine not to stop, lives are going to be lost. It's for a really powerful and important and good cause, to stand up for life, for the future generations. So something huge is going on here, and looking at this from the perspective of a person who is praying, with the sacred pipe, with that for the people. And I'm just looking at this, that we're all a part of this. We're not separate. Whether you don't agree or not, or whether you think it's not their land, it is their land. We know that all of this, where we're all living, was their land. And we know the history. If you don't know the history, research the history. The land the piece of land in the 1845, I think, treaty basically was given to them in a treaty. But we know that those treaties were never honored. So that land originally that they are battling on at that one point, that you talked about when they came and bulldozed the camp that the people set up there, that was treaty land, meaning that belonged to the people. That belonged to the Dakota people. And they've taken it away. So you can argue and say it's not their land, that they're trespassing. They're not trespassing. This land really is their land. We're the ones that are trespassing. The people that came here from Europe, this was their home. There were nations here, many, many nations. And now you have people saying that, they own the land. This is our land. It's not. It's all of our land, really. But they're destroying the land. So what are you going to do about it? You're not outside of this. So I don't know, when you say they're going to go there and they're going to stand arm in arm and they're going to meet those soldiers, those police and in riot gear and they haven't had real bullets. They've had rubber bullets, but, they're called, not lethal or unlethal weapons, but they are. They are very dangerous. But will they now put ammunition in those guns? Is this going to lead to the revolution that they have wanted to put in place, and they want to put in martial law? They want the people to get to a point. This is where we're all standing, I think. It's not just what's happening in Standing Rock, the people protecting the water for everyone. It's happening in our streets here because of, an election. Do they want everybody in the street pushing and screaming at each other and beating each other up? That's somewhat happening. Is that where we're going, or are we going to be in prayer and look at each other and say, we are brothers and sisters, and I love you, and yes, I forgive your mistake, and I forgive my own mistake, and, as we're talking about that, because if we don't do this, if we don't shift into what the First Nations people are showing us to do, really, where are we going? Because we're all family here, we're all people, all humans on this earth. We really have to change that behavior where we're separate or we're better than or whatever it is, that negative, that dark energy that's an imprint here. I think we're at a crucial time. I spoke about the breakup and shattering of everything that we knew was a prophecy. And in order to come to a better place as human beings, something has to end. You know, it's a wake-up call. It's sort of like, it gets so bad, you know, like in a personal experience, you say it gets so bad that you finally wake up and you get on your knees and you start praying and you start holding hands with your people, you know. Until that happens, is this what the sign that's coming? Until it is a revolution here, or until it is so bad that people will finally say, wait a second, we can't do this anymore. That person over there is a brother or sister to me, you know. I'm just saying, I think this is something extraordinary that's happening on a bigger level than we could even know, you know.
I totally agree. You get some thoughts, Nora?
Well, yeah, I don't think I can top that, but I have a little comment regarding what's happening on a higher realm or dimension. I think what's happening as well is the joining and balance of the feminine and masculine energy. The divine feminine energy has been raped for so long, and if we look at the water as being a symbol of, you know, the water in the womb of the mother, to me that's a very strong symbol that is being polluted, it's being disrupted, and if we disrupt that, then we disrupt the nature, you know, the law of nature, which is life, how life works and balance. So this wonderful thing that, you know, you're saying, Barbara, in the sense that people are starting to join hands in prayer, what I think is really happening is that the feminine, divine feminine, is waking up again. We're finally bringing it back, and we're fighting for it. Although the word fighting sounds, you know, aggressive or violent, but yeah, I guess you know what I mean. We need to bring it back, because without that divine feminine energy, this world is going to get worse. And we've already had a couple of thousand years without that divine feminine energy. It's being raped more and more, and you can just see the way the women are being treated, objectified, and this it really goes back to the symbology of what's happening right now with the water and with the pipelines. So this is what's really amazing, is that people are standing up because it is bringing back the divine feminine. So that's kind of what I totally agree with you, and that's also prophecy. And I'm happy to hear you say that, because the Mother Earth, of course, the water is her life's blood, you see. And if you can wrap your mind around that concept, you see, but this is what we of the First Nations know and believe. It's not that we imagine this, it's that we know this. And when we say it's not that we imagine that there is a spirit, a living spirit in everything, it's that we know it. It's not that we imagine that the mother is a sentient being, aware, alive, responsive. It's not that we imagine this. It's that we know it. And why do we know it? How do we know that? Because in the way of the people, the original people, there was that level of communication with the spirit of everything. So it's not that we know that the buffalo, when the buffalo come running across that territory there, when the police were there and the people were there crying. It's not that we imagine that the buffalo have a spirit and that they're responding. It is that we know it. And how do we know it? It's because we communicate with the spirit of everything, just like we communicate with the ancestors, the spirit of the mother. She speaks to us. And yes, the water is not only water is life, but water is the life force of the mother. So, and we as women, yes, we carry the water within our womb. And yes, everyone is 70-some% water, but as women, as the sacred feminine, we give life through that womb, through that water, that sacred water.
And so, yes, and the assault upon the sacred feminine has been thousands and thousands of years, and prophecy says that this is the time of the return of the sacred feminine and the partnership between men and women. This is so crucial. So, yes, if you look at Standing Rock, the men and women are standing side by side, and the grandmothers are who they are listening to. And the grandmothers are the ones, that's the clan mother, the matrilineal system, the grandmothers and the grandfathers stand side by side. And the young people are seeing this too, we stand together, men and women. We need a partnership again because they have deliberately disconnected that. They have deliberately set up us to be apart and against each other. So this is a crucial time, that's very important to bring up. Nora, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Barbara. Really, I think this is the main issue here. It's really the battle and the destruction of the two energies, because the two energies are what make creation and the creator itself. So as you said, it's a deliberate thing, unfortunately. So if we can't pull ourselves together and start working side by side and stop pointing fingers at each other, and men do have to start evolving, even women. But this thing that women are inferior, it just has to end. Because without the woman, who raises the children who raises these men to grow up and become independent and have their personality and be stable people? Who? It's the mother. The father as well, but the mother is there with that child until he's, he hits puberty at least. So these things are important.
Well, in the original way, that's how it was, But as we know, families have been corrupted, The idea of family has been deliberately corrupted and torn apart. And I do want to say about women, for instance, that you say women need to grow and change as well, because, women are also have been corrupted against their sisters and against themselves, And that is a deliberate. I have to keep reiterating that this is an agenda. It is deliberate to take that sacredness, that divine feminine and the divine masculine, to tear it down. Because if you stand in that, if you respect yourself and your brother, your brothers and your sisters, that's, the harmony and balance that is needed for all life to thrive. So when women, the work that I've been given to do over these 30 years is about healing the wound that we women carry. We carry it from our mothers, our grandmothers, and the mother also. But we carry that wound. We cannot stand together as warriors if we don't first heal that wound that sets us against each other. Because, you have to love your sisters, you have to love your brothers, you have to nurture them, but you must love yourself first and nurture and heal yourself first in order to stand against that energy that does not want that to happen. So women need to wake up for sure, because women, prophecy says women are to lead the way now at this time. Not leading behind people, but leading the way with love and compassion for those that we have been, trained and brainwashed to despise or hate or be jealous of, or to be jealous of your sister, a sister, someone else. That's a negative energy. That's a low frequency. Jealousy, hatred, right?
Absolutely, and there's a lot of that, unfortunately, going on.
And,
so
and
women,
does this come into the concept that Nora was talking about, the forgiveness?
Yeah.
I mean, it truly starts with the individual forgiving their own weaknesses, their own programming, their own, just forgive yourself and step into a new modality of, I am strong, I am female, I am proud of it. Because the difference here is going to be the fact that women are going to stand up and say, for God's sakes, let's face it, 50% of the population is women basically, and yet all these men send men and children into combat, into wars. You know, for what, 73% of the time that this nation has been in existence, they've been at war. The women have got to stand up and get a voice.
Yeah,
or anybody that's downtrodden, you know?
I think the forgiveness piece is very important. I think, you know, forgiving, but I think you have to identify, first of all, what you need to forgive, you know, because that's part of the ceremony of forgiveness, you know. You can't just say, oh, I forgive you, I forgive me, I forgive so on. You know, you have to really identify what is it that it needs to be forgiven. So that's, I guess, true, standing in your own truth to find the harm, identify the harm that you have done, whether physically, verbally, or thoughts of harm, because they're very powerful, you know. And women have been, as men, I'm not excluding men, but as boys and girls, we have been deliberately disconnected from our true spirits. You know, we don't.
Can you give us a list of the things that you would say we need to forgive, so that people can understand more about, you know, what you're talking there in detail?
Well, you know, we're programmed basically to commit thought bombs, negative thought bombs upon each other, and I could say jealousy, for instance. You know. We're trained from very early as children to learn to be basically believe we're not good enough or somebody else is better than us, or so we're trained how to be jealous of that person or attack that person, to be prejudiced against that person. So if you have these things, if you have been imprinted with hatred and prejudices and jealousies, those are things you need to forgive yourself for. That's a very powerful imprint upon your spirit. Not only upon your spirit, but because we are body, mind, and spirit, so these imprints do great harm to us. You know, rage, jealousy, these are all low frequencies. So if you're a person who has been trained to hate someone else or be prejudiced upon someone else, you have to deal with that. You know, I'm saying you don't have to, but if you want to really be free, if you want to be free, a sovereign being, which we were all meant to be, so that you can go into your heart and determine things rather than be in your mind or, you know, be ruled by ego or be ruled by the brainwashing programs that you received. This is generations. So I like to say, I forgive never was a word of prejudice from my parents, never. Matter of fact, my mother was always helping the underdog. I learned that from her. I learned to be compassionate from my mother and my father. So, but if my mother or father had ever given me prejudiced information so that I am now a person who looks at others of color, for instance, or less than me, I'd look at them as less than me, and I might say a mean thing or think a nasty thought of that person. I want to work on that. I would want to say, I forgive my mother and father for that imprint because it damaged me, and I am now doing damage with that imprint. I am hurting someone else, whether it's verbally or thought or attitude toward that person. That's very powerful effect upon someone else. So that's just a one instance. You know, we learned from our parents, from our grandparents, but they were the ones that received the negative imprints. Where did this come from? It came from a source, you know, a source of darkness, a source of hatred and violence upon others. And we're talking millennia here. So that's a chain. I call it, it's a chain that we are tied to that is really damaging, you know. It's damaging our spirit, our soul, and it's damaging us physically. Hatred makes us sick. Jealousy makes us sick, you know. It really does not serve us. So if we want to change the energy, the frequency, and bring everything into harmony and balance, we have to do our individual work first. So, you know, so that you are able to reach out to a brother, for instance, and stand with love and compassion, and also forgiveness. So maybe, you know, you have an issue with men. You know, maybe you were harmed by someone, right? Maybe even someone in your own family. So in order to heal and to cleanse these things out of your cellular experience and your spirit and your soul, your mind, you have to do that work. We can't come together as brothers and sisters and children of this earth until we clean our own house.
Okay, let me jump in here because I get into the same thing you do. You got to work at it. You got to. But what's the work? Can we try to get to some kind of a? All right, for instance, I don't know how many times it happens to most people. I know that it happens to me far less than it used to. But all of a sudden, I'd have a thought in my head, and it would not be a good thought, and I'd go, "Whoa, where'd this come from?" It didn't even feel like my thought. It's like it comes from outside of me. Now, I do believe that they muck around with us with the electromagnetic systems and putting in vibrations that are very low vibrations. Perhaps they're giving us electronic telepathic things that get into our heads. But for a lot of and that stuff is like you just have to become sensitive. If it doesn't feel like it's coming from you, it probably isn't. You know,
and Nancy, this is ramping up. This is a very good point you're making right now, because we're talking mind control. However it's coming, it doesn't matter. It could be electromagnetic input. It could be energetic work. It could be a dark energy. Whatever it is, those thoughts that come into, and you do have to be sensitive to it. You do have to say, like you just did, hey, wait a second, that's not my thought. Where did that come from? The minute you say that, you're identifying something that is outside, an outside source that is a dark energy, whether it doesn't matter where it's coming from, but it's hitting you. It's affecting you. Now, some people are not as, say, alert or tuned in or sensitive awareness as you are, where you can say, hey, wait a second, that's not mine. Think of the people who don't have that capacity, who hear a thought in their mind that tells them to do something really negative or hurtful, and they go and do it. This is where we're talking mind control here.
And that's why I want to focus on it. I want to, just between us guys, we know it's all happened to us, is like, can we explain to them what we feel, why we think it's different? Because when it's happening to you, if you haven't done it a few times and realized that first off, you have to realize that you can be controlled that way, and if you accept that, then you have to find out, well, when do I know it? And that's what I want to get to, is some of the things that we see that make us go, that's not me.
I'd just like to say one little thing to prove what you're saying. When I was about 5 to 6 years old, and I just kind of understood the concept of religion, again, not spirituality, because I think all children come in with some sort of knowledge, depending on their soul, obviously, but religion in specific. I remember till this very day that I started having these compulsive, and I'm not a compulsive person. I mean, I don't have these compulsive behaviors. But when I was about that age, I had this compulsive thinking where I would say God's name or, things that have to do with religion and say very bad things in my head, like really heretic bad things. And I'd say, what is going on? Why am I thinking these things? And it went on for a while. I didn't tell anyone because I was too ashamed. I was able to actually let it stop myself, by myself. I don't know how I did it, but I stopped it. But it was compulsive, and it was scary because I just couldn't control it. It was just coming in. So I know for a fact that, and a lot of stuff that was in my mind, I mean, as a child, I wouldn't even think it. It's not natural for a child, especially me, knowing myself at that age. I didn't think this way, and I didn't think this way about other people. I never had bad thoughts in my head about people. So this is just to confirm and prove what you're saying, that there is some energetic attack, even on children.
Yes. And so we're so vulnerable as a child. We're just like a little sponge, and we absorb everything, and we don't know how to identify something that is a negative, for instance, or we don't know how to ward it away, or we don't know how to protect ourselves, and these are things that we really need to learn these things, because they are ramping this energy up that is affecting a lot of people, and I see it, just looking at what's going on in the country, looking at the news and seeing the behaviors of people. You look at these people and you say, how could this person do that, And I see the brainwashing really ramping up. When they started working with children because of sexual abuse, and they would tell children, if something feels yucky in your tummy, that's a bad thing, okay? It's one way of helping children to identify, because we all get a feeling, but we're so numb to identifying or trusting. Yes, this is a very important piece, trusting in your innate wisdom or your innate nature to know right from wrong. And I've experienced these messages in my mind. They started ramping up, I guess, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and I identified these things as an outside energy that is a really negative energy. Because, like Nancy, like you said, and even Nora, these thoughts would run in my mind, and I'd go, "What the heck is that?" It'd be so bizarre and so unlike me, so yucky that I'd say.
And did you actually have people that sometimes you're going, "Who are these people?" I've actually had, all of a sudden I'm thinking or seeing things, and I don't even know who the people are.
Well, people meaning around you?
No, the people in the thoughts that's going through.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Like seeing this horrific traffic accident.
Yeah.
With all of this blood and gore, and I don't even know these people.
Right, or a thought of just give you a weird example of I had people, by the way, starting to come to me about 6 years ago, say, I have to talk to you and about something. I said, okay, and they said, well, I'm kind of ashamed or embarrassed to tell you this, but these thoughts are coming into my mind, and they're really sleazy, creepy, or awful, or negative, or hurtful thoughts. And so people started coming to telling me these things, and that really took my notice, because I realized, well, it's happening to a lot of people. And the majority of the people that became aware of this were people who are really doing their healing work. They are really working to shift into harmony and balance, and changing their way, and that suddenly now they're all being hit, or light workers, or people who are in the healing fields. Suddenly these people are being inundated with these really awful thoughts that are so unlike them, and they were like shocked, and they're reaching out for help, So that really clued me in that, they are ramping this stuff up upon us to really spin us around. And if you have any kind of connectedness to your spirit soul, for instance, or to your creator, you wouldn't act upon these things. You don't act upon them, but you're pressured and spun around by them because they're really awful. Now, take people who are not connected to their spirit soul, who are so far removed from this, who are really damaged and not have had the healing, or those who are really distant from a God or creator or any connectedness to a higher source. They would, in turn, not have the ability to prevent themselves from maybe taking action about what they're hearing in their minds. This is what I'm saying. So yeah, like that.
Okay, we're at the top of the hour, so let's take a quick break, and we'll come back and just keep talking about what we're talking about, because it's what we're talking about. It must be trending in the collective consciousness. Colleen, you got some tune you can put up, sweetie?
I sure do.
Okay, we'll be right back.
May it be. Alrighty, we're back.
And I thank you. You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio, simulcast over Haggy Shack Radio, which is producing this show. Colleen Kelly is the producer. You can find wolfspiritradio.com or haggyshack.com. Have donation buttons. And you can donate to them, but to be honest with you, donate to the peacekeepers, the people protecting the water right now. Colleen, if you get in trouble, let me know. Because it's just, we've got to put, if you get money, put it in there. This is so big. This is such a critical moment in time that I highly recommend you do that. However, if you've got extra money, they can also use it because we are critical. What we're doing here is critical because we scheduled to have talks about things that matter. And we influence the collective consciousness, and hopefully we help some people. We've been talking about, and also you can, for $5 you can get to the archives, but you also should know that the archives you can get a week after every live show. You can actually go and listen to the, or download even, you can download the recording so that you got it. We've been talking about, the basics of how do you know, we got to expel these negative thoughts that we've got, but sometimes the negative thoughts aren't even ours. And during the break I was thinking about it. Now, what happens to me is that I get a thought in my head and I go like, oh my God, where's that coming from? Okay? Now, sometimes it's coming from the past. It's something in my past that's a sound, a song, some visual thing, just a series of the way that your brain sometimes works, working out problems. All of a sudden, I'm like feeling really yucky. And I'm one of these people that get it in the stomach. Energy to me is, I understand it through if I'm getting nauseous or not. But when I ask the question, I just simply ask, where is this coming from? I will know if it's coming from a memory or if it's coming from some outside force. If it's coming from some outside force, then I immediately put up a block. I say no. But as I'm saying no, I try to be aware that my body, I am a hugely powerful being. And the only reason that these things got through is that somehow or another I gave consent. The dark side, there seems to be this rule that the dark side has to tell you what they're going to do to you before they can do it. Now, the concept there is that it's a free will universe and they're supposed to tell you what they want to do and then you're supposed to have a decision, yes or no. But the dark side said, well, if you don't say no, then it's a yes. So even if you don't know you've been asked a question and you don't say no, then they assume it's a yes. So when you're getting in these things that are coming through you, even though you think you've got all the protection in the world, somehow or another you've given a contract to that particular frequency because you didn't know it was coming in. Nobody asked you. But now you see it. Now you know it's there. You are so powerful that you break the contract of that frequency so that they cannot hit you with that frequency again, that specific frequency. If it's a memory, and it's a memory that I look at it. Now, the thing of it is, you also have to look at these things. You can't just, oops, it's from that terrible situation I had with Uncle Tom, okay? You can't just look at it and then dismiss it. You really have to stop it and consider it. When I get these things from past memories, that are very, very bothersome, I look at them and I say, did I learn anything from it? And inevitably, there may be something that you learn. Sometimes you can't even see it, At that moment, I make the decision whether to continue the memory, let the memory sit, but to kind of like say, okay, this memory, I can have it, but it's not going to emotionally get to me. I'm going to forgive myself, forgive everybody else involved with it, and it's just going to be a memory. It's just a piece of information. You detach from it. You become objective to it. But there are some memories that I see absolutely no reason for me to keep them. And so those I say delete. Now they'll come back. But as soon as they come back, I've already made the decision I'm not going to go there anymore. I'm going to delete it again. Delete. And you know something? It doesn't take very long before those memories, even if you try to remember them, they're gone. You deleted it. It's no longer going to be something that affects you. So that's just the way that I deal with this concept of all this stuff that we've got that keeps getting in our way of becoming who we can be. You know, it's like my sister said, everybody brings baggage. It's how you unpack the suitcase. And to me, that's the way I try to identify, where's this coming from? If it's a memory, either keep the memory, but don't let it trigger you anymore. Do all the forgiveness of it. Or just make a decision, a command decision. I don't need that anymore. It did what it did. It taught me what I know. I don't need it anymore. I don't need it bothering me anymore. And delete it. Now, that's the other side of it, is the information that you get. You go, whoa, I never thought about that before. It just comes in and it fills you with like inspiration or excitement. My gosh, I just had a thought I never had before. Do the same thing. Where did this come from? Because the more you address those things, the more you begin to realize the power of your own intuition, wherever the source of that intuition is. Because the more you begin to realize that you also have these massively wonderful thoughts, and take those with you. You know, use that as the basic building block for who you are becoming. Oh, you know, I had a thought the other day. It was amazing. Do you think it's the only one you're ever going to have? No, as soon as you open up the door, you're going to have more and more. The sooner you ask all the questions. What's this for? What are we doing? Why are these people out there talking about the water? What is this all about? Ask the questions. Get the answers. If you fill yourself with more questions than dead space, you're going to have less of these intrusions, either from memories or from electronic manipulation of the ethers.
Well, knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power.
Now, the thing about what you're saying, Nancy, is that what I personally believe, there's a lot of attempts to corrupt the soul. It's spiritual warfare, the way I personally see it. Now, if we look at society, you know, if you start talking about negative spirits or demons or whatever you want to call it, people are going to laugh at your face and say, you know, you're crazy. But personally, I think it has been deliberately done in a way where they want people not to know that these things exist, because what's the best way for someone to work their agenda is to do it secretly. So when it comes to thoughts, this is the best way that a person can be corrupt or can get corrupted, because it always starts with a thought, whether it's positive or negative. And as you said, or as Barbara said, it depends how connected you are to source, whether you're going to give in to these thoughts or believe that they're your own, or give in to the shame, or actually fight them and say and understand. Because again, then, you know, we come to the idea of knowledge, because when you know, when you understand, then you have more leverage to work with whatever is coming to you. So it's kind of we have responsibility towards ourselves. We can't expect something outside of us to save us. You know, we always bring back the same subject about, you know, there's a savior. No one is going to save us but ourselves. And if we understand that we are all connected, then we're all one at the end of the day. But individually, each person needs to work on themselves. I personally don't believe, and I'm not interested that someone comes and saves me, because I know that I have to do it myself. This is a job I need to do. And that puts, you know, power square on your lap. No more excuses, no blaming, no nothing. And as much as at the beginning it might be overwhelming and a little scary, but then it's so freeing. Because if you have to depend on someone else to save you, you just can't. You can't expect things to go the way that is right for you, because every person is unique. So yeah, going back to the whole thoughts, it's to me this is a spiritual corruption. I personally believe in this, because I've had these experiences. We even talked about it in the summer, if you remember. It's to me, this is a big issue. And I think a lot of people, as Barbara said, are too ashamed to talk about it. When I started coming out and talking about it, sharing it with some people that are close to me, they would burst into tears and start saying, I have the same problem. But they couldn't talk about it. They kept it to themselves all their lives because they were too ashamed. So this is actually a real problem.
You might just want to say that this was like sexual thoughts that were coming into your head that didn't feel natural to you.
Yeah, mostly sexual, yes. But I mean sexual or even violent. I mean, these are all intrusions. As you said, when you feel in your gut that it doesn't feel right, that it's nauseous, that it's not you, it's not normal, then it's an intrusion, whether it's of any nature, something that is dark.
Well, I feel that our true nature is to have inner peace, to be joyous, to be compassionate and loving, you know. And so if you're looking at the opposite of that, that's not your true nature. If you have a evil thought, a dark thought, a creepy thought, a negative thought, something that makes you feel squirmish or uncomfortable, a sexual, perversion, things like that, that's not our true nature. So just that alone, if you look at that, what makes you feel yucky or creepy or bizarre, that's an outside intrusion. And that outside intrusion is deliberate. Really, it is ramping up and it is deliberate. So, if you identify the feeling, see, here's the piece. Many people are so disconnected from what they really are feeling. They've been so numb from feeling. They've been perhaps dissociated through their own trauma in childhood. You learn how to just close down the connectedness, or I call it the feeling wires are disconnected. So, sometimes people don't even recognize what a feeling is, So it makes it very difficult. But when you hear a thought or feel an energy or are receiving some kind of an energy or hearing something, it's going to create an emotion or a feeling. So it's the feeling, the emotion piece that's very important to identify. What am I feeling right now? You might be able to more readily question what am I feeling right now rather than questioning or even identifying that you've just received a bizarre thought, or been hit with some kind of energy. Because it's sort of like, I don't want to say hidden, it's not entirely hidden, but our mind is like a machine, a computer. It's just constantly receiving information from all sources, from the ethers, from the TV, from the computer. Our mind is a computer that receives information, and then it just replays it, it just goes on and on and on. I call it the monkey mind. But if you can just pay attention to feelings, what am I feeling right now? Like I said when I got on, I'm feeling kind of sad, So, identified that because my regular, normal nature is to feel really blessed and grateful for, everything that I see when I wake up and being alive, my health and the...
Barbara, this is interesting because... Yes, we got on, and you said you were feeling very sad. What I didn't say at the time was that just before that, in the time that you were probably reading the stuff that made you sad, I opened up something Colleen had sent me on the veterans, and I burst into tears. And I'm going like, there's nothing I just read that made me why? And it was this emotional whoa, And you and I seem to be very telepathically linked. Yeah. I think that that's something that we should address too, is that sometimes the feelings that you're getting are coming from people around you in a telepathic way, but it also can come from the collective itself.
Right.
So people that, when you look at all the things that could be happening, you go like, well, where am I in this? Where's me?
Exactly.
And that's the key. That's what we're searching for, is who is me.
Now, the funny thing is that before the show, okay, speaking of telepathic and how we receive information, just before the show, I went to wash my hands, And I remembered, just out of the blue, no reason whatsoever, I remembered that show that we talked about, you know, the strange thoughts that come to our head. I didn't think we were going to bring this up. And you brought it up, Barbara. So it is really intriguing how not just the mind works, but how it receives information. It's like our minds were preparing for this telepathically for the show. So these two things, I mean, completely random and completely, you know, just unexpected.
Well, I
so
was focusing. Yeah, I mean, I was preparing. I was sitting here, and I happened to that thing popped up, so I started looking at it. But I was also, we want to just say my double, not double, but my. How would you explain this? Like part of my focus was on you, Nancy, and also Nora and Colleen coming. We're going to connect with me soon. So I was like focusing on this very deeply sad piece, but also I was focusing on you guys simultaneously.
Which we, at least I know that I mean, because as I was emotional, and it was an emotional eruption in me, I'm going like, but what I just read shouldn't be doing this. You know, I mean, because it was really, I thought, well, I can't even talk about this. And then it passed. You know? And what I'm trying to do is to try to bring out the ways that we can pick up stuff that we don't even realize we're picking up. Like,
well, it's like that's, you see, this is something that, well, I grew up with this skill, and I call it a skill, but we all have it, but a lot of people don't pay attention to it or trust it. Like, was it last week or something? I got the message that you were going to call me. No, the last time we were on this show together, I told you, right? I got the message that
and when I first heard you at all, the first time I heard you were talking with Dolly, and you said that you were connecting with somebody right now on the radio show, and I knew it was me.
Right.
I'm going like, who is this woman? Why am I so, you know, it was just like, whoa. Yes, but, you know, people have to understand that a lot of the times when you know it, you feel your friend is sad, you feel, you know these things. If you just go with these things, you get a deeper connection. Like Barbara and I have never met, but we have an intensely deep connection. It's the same thing with Nora and Colleen. Certain people have vibrational energies that maybe we're the same soul family. Who knows where it comes from? But they're all around you, and sometimes they're strangers.
Yeah, and I just want to broaden this a little bit and say, so think about this. We've talked about this, and what we're just now identifying this with our little group here, with our intimate connection here. But think about it on a broader perspective. All of us, every human being, is connected energetically. And sometimes it's stronger with some people, and sometimes, you know, it could be somebody across the world that is in a state of something, and we suddenly get a wave of a thought or an emotion or an experience that seems so real, but it's coming from that web, you know, the web of life, or the frequency or the energies and how we're connected. So, and your question just a few minutes ago about where am I in this and who am I, you know, is very key here. That's why we're talking about this, I think, is because more so than ever now, we really need to connect with our own frequency, our own feeling, our own sense of being, right? So that we can separate the intrusions, whether they're positive or negative. But if they're positive, then we could perhaps, if it's meant to be, work with them, you know. And if they're negative, then what is meant to be is to eliminate it or extricate it from our sphere, from our aura field, from our physical and spiritual and emotional self. So this is a very key thing we're talking about here, because every human being is subjected to outside influences, not only their own monkey mind and their own imprint from family, but also outside other human beings, as well as the mother, you know, the earth and the creatures. I mean, I am so sensitive, heightened sensitivity to the Mother Earth and to the creatures and the waters and the spirit and everything, that I oftentimes just start weeping because of the feeling of what's happening, the sense of what is happening, so, and that's how we are connected, So not to be tossed around and thrown around and pummeled and spinning here, we have to find a tool on how to identify these outside influences if they are negative, and also steady ourselves, ground ourselves, keep ourselves in place, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So you got any suggestions?
Well, were you just wondering, somebody's wondering about grounding. Well, how do you ground? What does that mean? Right? So somebody's asking that question. Because when I mentioned that, I said we need to ground ourselves. We need to center ourselves and ground ourselves. So somebody's questioning that. I picked that up. That was a real, that word, grounding, really touched somebody,
Well,
how do you do it?
How would you explain it? How would you do it? How would you suggest it?
Well, there's a physical grounding. When I notice that people are not grounded, like they're not connected, they're not grounded to the earth energy, to the mother energy, but they might be really caught literally up in their, they're intellectualizing everything. They're inundated with this mind stuff, So they're disconnected from the source of the Earth's energy or the grounding that they need to be. So it's sort of like, how do we balance ourselves? We could use the term grounding or balancing, but grounding in this sense is specific. So it's like I tell people that your energy is really all up here in your mind and your head, and you're really constantly inundated with these thought processes, and you really are missing a very important connectedness here. So that's an energy. I'm looking at their energy, and I see all of this energy up on top in their head, above, and it's blank down below. Some people have a blankness from their heart down or from their neck down, so their heart is disconnected, and they're disconnected from any sensory ability throughout their whole body, or they might just be blocked. So when you see these things, it's sort of like I tell people, one thing to do is go outside on the mother, put your bare feet on the mother, and just feel the earth and send down roots. Imagine roots growing out of the bottom of your feet to go into the mother, because the mother is healing. The Mother Earth is very nurturing and healing. So when you dig those roots, imagine those beautiful roots like a tree going into the mother, because that's what the tree people and all the plant people are doing. They're receiving the nurturance, the food, of the life force of the mother. And so we need to do that too. That grounds us. It brings us into balance, so that you're not all in one place, like up in your mind, or disconnected from source, on that level. You can do it the opposite way, You could say there's a block, where you're not really able to reach, to open the portal to reach source above, We basically are in the center of the sacred hoop. So what is above, so is below, and we are the center point, right, of this sacred hoop. Each one of us is, energetically, if you look at that. But either you're blocked somewhere physically, which blocks you from both ways, the above, the below. The love, the divine frequency of the above, Mother, Father, that is always emanating down through the energies. Okay, as well as the mother is always emanating that life force and harmony and balance from below. And we're somewhere in the middle there. So you got to check up on your energy flow. Check up on, where are you energetically within yourself? Do you feel heavy, right?
I have a sort of an easier way of doing it, okay? And that's shungite. And I know people that don't understand the true the true mission orientation that I have towards Shungite, but this is a good opportunity to try to explain why I'm so into this thing. Shungite is 1,000 kilometers of stuff in Russia. Okay, it's the only place in the world you find it. It's a gift from Gaia. Well, we've got people now that are referring to it as Gaia's stone. What it is it's a frequency that accesses infinite power from the quantum field. And this is not metaphysics. This is geometry. This is science. This is quantum science. So don't think of it as a metaphysical situation. It accesses the infinite of the quantum field, pulls it into the third dimensional finite piece of Shungite that you've got, and then radiates it. But it is a gift from Gaia. It's a connecting point. It's a frequency that grounds you just because you have it. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you feel like you're grounded, like your feet are on the earth. It grounds you to the frequency of Gaia's heart. And once you just are in that frequency, it's like, some people, they get into bed and they plug in their bed because they've got grounding in the ability. This is always going to ground you to Gaia's heart. So if you've got that one little piece of Shungite, you have made a quantum connection to everybody else. So to me, that's the key to why I'm such a almost missionary kind of person is when it comes to Shungite. Because it's one item that we can focus on, that we all can carry, a little piece of it. And it doesn't matter how big it is. We found out that a piece of powder is as powerful as a huge boulder.
Well, there are many tools that you can use, and definitely Shungite is one of them. I work with sacred stones, with the spirit of the stone. Cygnus 32 says hugging a horse works for them, and that works too. There are many things that we can do that will balance us, harmonize us, change the negative into the positive, So find what works for you, And the mother's energy runs through everything,
And what you have to realize is that when you do make those connections, you're not the only one. It's not just connecting with a rock or Shungite. It's connecting with each other. It's like a way of connecting all of our energies in a pure way. Yes, I use all of the minerals myself too, but I know that Shungite has all the energies of all the minerals.
Well, what you're saying, what I hear you say is, of course, it's what we talk about all the time is the frequency of the Shungite. The frequency of everything we're talking about is a high frequency. So when you are engaged with it, when you are connected to it, you are emanating that high frequency, which is touching everything else. So that's how we're linked.
Yeah, you hug the horse. Between you and the horse, you now have a unique energy field that you're both holding on to. And when you walk out and somebody's next to you, they're feeling that energy field.
That's right.
And that so it's a matter of every time somebody gets right in themselves, they influence people around them. And those people will influence people around them.
And that's how powerful we are.
It all starts with the individual.
That's right. Back to the self. There's so many things. If you feel like I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. I'm one person, or I don't have any skills, or I don't. Yeah, so go out on the mother and sit and receive the love she has. Get yourself a little piece of Shungite. Go hug a horse, hug a tree. I mean, all these things may seem silly or bizarre to some, but as I said before, in our way of First Nations people, we don't imagine these things work. We know they work. Just like you right?
Yeah, I noticed that even chores help a lot, like house chores. For example, cleaning, using water and things like that. Cooking, you're holding vegetables and things like. I mean, just the very raw things that people may get bored of doing. They think it's just daily chores that are boring, but I find them very grounding because they make you focus. You're literally focused on what you're doing, especially the cleaning, using a lot of water. I personally think it's very grounding.
You just brought to my mind about attitude, It's like you could think something is boring or you hate doing something, and if you keep telling yourself that, that's what your experience is going to be. But when you have a different attitude, when you have gratitude for the water that you're using to clean something, when you identify the fact that that water is life and it's nurturing and healing, or identify, whatever you are doing, that I'm doing this to make something very sweet and my environment, my sacred space, straightening out my sacred space for more harmony and balance, rather than grumbling because you're cleaning something. It's like your attitude is everything. It depends, on what you want to do, what you choose, how you want to live life. Yeah?
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. And regarding the shungite, I have to say from my personal experience, right now I'm kind of full of it everywhere. I have it on my electronics. I have it on me all the time. For me personally, because I think every human is obviously unique. They have unique needs regarding growth. The thing that I've noticed in my experience with shungite is that I've become more centered with myself, meaning that I still get a little bit maybe irritated. I lose my focus when things happen, but much, much less than before. But I noticed that let's say if you ask me what's the biggest impact that shungite did till now on me, it's I feel content. I don't need anyone. And for me, that's a big deal because, you always have the fear of being alone. You don't want to feel lonely or things like now. I mean, I'm only 32, and usually people at my age still have these issues. They still have a lot of growth to do. And to get to this point that I'm fine, even by myself. What are you doing on Saturday night? Aren't you going out with friends? No. I actually want to stay home and meditate or do some work. And if I feel like it, I will. It's not like I'm antisocial, but I just feel content. And I believe that shungite has helped me with that. So I just wanted to share that with everyone. And that's quite grounding, I think.
Well, I think it's because it is a gift from Gaia. It's been laying there for billions of years, and it's only now that we realize the potential of it. Its time has come. And what it does in the electromagnetic world is that it frees you, your mind clears up, your body clears up. When you're in, it's a gift from Gaia. It's like it's leveling the playing field. And
go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead. I was just thinking here, getting a message. I'd like to revisit the event that you said is going to unfold at Standing Rock with those veterans.
Sure.
And I'd like to revisit it where we all put out a vision of harmony and balance and light and protection for all there, and that there is no grave harm done, and just fill that area there at Standing Rock with light and peace.
I totally agree. It's something that we have to really work on, just connecting there. And when you're cleaning, let that thought come through again. Connecting. Normally, I would say in a manifestation type of thing that you just put out your emotional feeling of what you want and let it go and don't revisit it. It's gonna happen. But this is something a little different. This is something that humanity has to pay attention to. We have to put our energies into it. This is not manifestation and then allowing the universe to provide for you. This is something a little different. This is like manifesting a new world, because the key to it isn't to open the hearts of the people that are the protectors. It's to open the hearts of those that would stop the protectors. So it is a matter of the concept of free will. All right? Now, free will would say, well, you can't mess with these people because they've got free will. They can make the decisions one way or the other as to whether they're going to continue doing evil or they're going to be like the 50 police officers that say, this isn't right, I quit, I'm on their side. We've got to get them all to quit and come to the side of peace and love and brotherhood. To do that, you have to be able to know that reality is what we think it is. And in our reality, you may have free will, but you've got not to be in our reality if that free will is anything that's going to damage Mother Earth. You know, you sort of set the boundaries. We have said our boundaries, our reality says you respect the mother. You respect each other. And if you cannot agree to do that, then you're going to go someplace else. But the person that you are right now on this timeline is, in fact, going to be a person with an open heart. Because that's the one thing about free will that I've had to come to grips with, is that it's not just a decision of what you're going to do in a given reality. It's in a dimension that has many realities. So we can choose to have people in this reality that have open hearts. And if they've got another version of themselves that is in a state of hate, that's their reality. But we really, and I think that that's what they're doing, there, in that place. They're saying, no, our reality is clashing with your reality. And in this place and in this time, our reality is going to dominate. We're not going to have violence. We're not going to have any of this. Your heart is going to open up. And if you, as the soul being, want to experience the negativity and evil in life, go to another reality. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Well, I do believe in the power of see, here it is, I do believe. You have to believe what it is that Nancy's describing. Okay, we can't be successful if we go into this as, well, I'll give it a try, or well, ho-hum, or I don't know, or I think that's ridiculous. You have to believe in this. And like I say, the First Nations people know this. They don't imagine it. They know it. So that's where you have to come from. And also, the people out there know that something bigger is happening here. They know that this is a struggle for life, for all of life. They know that we have been struggling. But now this piece here happens to be so, the timeline here, right there at Standing Rock on the Mother Earth, right there. They know, they're not discouraged, all right? They are not lost. They are not fearful. I'll say they are knowing. They're knowing within them that the right thing is happening. Whether you look at it and you say this is an awful thing that's happening, they know that there is a right thing that is happening here because it's bigger than all of us. And so this is the piece you have to come to is, of course, I'm talking about, I guess, trust and faith. Trust and faith that something is happening that is so miraculous there. Even if you have 50-some people, 50-some policemen resigning their jobs and walking over that line, crossing that line into love rather than hatred and violence, if that's all that this is meant to achieve, so be it. But you have to be in that state of knowing, not imagining or thinking that it's possible. You have to have that knowing within yourself fully, with no interference, no interruption, no negativity about it at all. That's the power that Nancy and I and Nora are talking about. This is where you stand. So it's, and I believe in free will, and I also believe in a divine plan. But I also believe that the divine plan that we, as children of the earth who came here to take part, to participate in this timeline, also have a power and an ability to shift things through our prayer and through love, through the power of love and compassion. That affects what you may think is will never change. Okay? This is how I look at this. Nothing is written in stone, even a divine plan, because I do believe in the power of love and compassion and prayer. So this is how I'm looking at this. So if you want to do the work, meaning the sacred work to help the people all over, and especially at Standing Rock, you have to find the knowing place within yourself and do the work to send the light and the love, the compassion for all that is there, not just for the protectors, for everyone that's there.
Yeah, they're just fighting for us. And this is a good, let's say, exercise. Because you're right. There's so many people that are out there saying, well, maybe I'll try it or maybe I won't. But the key here is that just commit to it. You got nothing else going for you anyway. Just commit. Play it out until the end of this year. Just play it out. Say, well, let's just try this. I'm going to go with these guys. I'm going to believe what they're saying, that we can make a change because we've changed ourselves by the way we're thinking. So every time you go, oh yeah, I got to think about the Standing Rock people, and that negativity comes in, oh, nothing ever happens. Fight that. Look at that and say, why is that coming into my head? Where is that coming from? And then dismiss it or go with it. But at least stop and look at that one question over one subject that we're talking about. Can we put out enough thought energy that is working through our hearts as love and compassion and gratitude? Can we put out enough of that energy to protect the protectors and to open up the hearts of those that would oppose them? Can we do that? And just commit to it. Just give it 30 days. And every time a negative thought comes in, say, no, not going to let you come into my head. Let's just, it's 30 days. What else were you doing? Except maybe shopping for holidays.
Cooking your turkey.
Worry about, did I get Uncle Tom what I was supposed to get him? I've said this for quite a few years now. Don't play that game. Nobody says that you have, well, there's a lot of people that say it, but there's nothing internal to you if you feel it that says that you need to go out and buy people that you don't even talk to except once a year when you say, thank you for your gift, and they say, thank you for your gift. You don't have to go into that financial quagmire that they drive you into every year. I said to my family, no more gifts. This is a scam. I said to my friends, no more gifts.
Exactly. I'm there with you, dear. And I do want to say that on top of that comes, if you do determine to do that, to disengage from the scam, make sure you disengage from the guilt that everybody will put upon you. Because that's another.
Absolutely.
That's another
scam. So the reality is that only one person said, the others went, oh, good idea. You see, it was really easy.
Everybody was waiting for you or somebody to finally make that decision,
stand up
right?
And say, yeah, this is nuts.
Because they were all groaning around the holidays. How can I afford this? Oh, I don't even know what to get. Oh, I hate this. So they're all doing it, but nobody can really stand up to the plate and say, I'm not going to do it anymore because Aunt so-and-so will make me feel guilty or I'll feel whatever.
Be a warrior. Say no more of this. I mean, I give gifts. And you were the one that said it to me. I said, Happy Thanksgiving, and you said, I don't celebrate one day a year. I do it every day.
Right.
And it's the same sort of thing. If you are going through, how many times have you done this? Oh, so-and-so would like this. I'll save it for Christmas. Well, they may be dead before Christmas. Give it to them then. And
give a gift every day.
And if they forget at Christmas time that you gave them the gift in July, well, so they don't like you anymore. It's like nobody does that. We're all programmed to think that we have to do this thing, and if we could just break out of that. No, stop.
Well,
nuts.
It's about getting out of the matrix. It's about getting out of the matrix, folks. That's what we're talking about, because it's every step of our lives, everything, every part of our lives is manipulated and deliberately to keep us all in this stupid spin and owned and controlled, So that's the matrix we're talking about. And the whole thing is a huge scam. Everything. It's just about money, spending more money. Spend more money, put yourself in debt so that you're really miserable, and you can complain, and then you're in a low frequency, and then you're really angry, and you're angry at all your relatives for putting you in this position, but you made the choice, free will. There you go, round and round and round.
And you get all these crappy gifts that you didn't want to begin with.
Besides, I don't need another pot holder. I don't need another toaster.
What's wrong with socks and scarves? They're cheap and they're nice.
Yeah, but you're a cheapo.
Well, they can call me cheapo. I don't care.
Well, she gave me socks again. There's going to be always somebody.
Yeah.
Always,
Absolutely.
It's like enough already, right? It's like get into the inner peace and gratitude of just being and work. Really, to me, it's like all these things are mundane. They are so meaningless. We're talking about standing up. We're talking about water, life. We're talking about your health, your well-being, your inner peace. These are the really significant things. We have to get away from what we've been trained to believe is significant, that is so not significant,
Okay, here's an idea, okay? If you feel like you really have to give a gift, okay, make a donation to the Standing Rock people in the name of the person you were going to give the gift to.
Good idea.
That's a good idea. Mm-hmm.
Because now that person is going to go, what are you talking about? Okay, so now you can explain it to them. And if they feel like they somehow or not think that this is a terrible gift, well, then cross them off of your gift list. Because you are giving in their name a gift to life.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I hope that it's people are receiving this very important message, what we're sharing about how we're all so controlled, how to live our lives, and the most important thing we're ignoring or being, disconnected from, which is water is life. And it's crucial right now that we all stand up for the water, for our next generations, for ourselves and our coming generations. I mean, we're all on the line here. This is really a serious thing. I mean, the prophecy of the black snake is right in front of our eyes, and once that black snake goes in, that's the end, as the prophecy says. And there, of course, are many prophecies that are unfolding on that level that have already happened. For instance, when the trees start dying from the tops down, we're in trouble. When the imprint of man, stays in the places up north, we're in deep trouble. All these things have already happened, The web in the sky, the web above us, I talk about the sacred web, but this is not the web I'm talking about. The web, when the web covers the skies, will be poisoned, and that's the chemtrails. So everything that's happening to us, all these prophecies are unfolding, but there's also the other prophecy that we're all coming together. The rainbow warriors are all standing up. People are coming together. People are waking up. This is the time of the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine, the partnership, the coming together. These are other prophecies. It's almost like balancing and unbalancing, back and forth. So you have something good happening over here, and everybody goes, yay, this is so beautiful. And then the next day or an hour later, you see something that is really not good, and the energy goes down. So it's like this yo-yo effect, So things are jockeying for position here, and yes, this is a spiritual war. We are in the time of that war about our spiritual self, our soul, our spirits here. So this is a very crucial time. And I'm happy to be able to be here and talk with you and talk with everyone listening. And I know, at first it was, I said, I don't want this to be a downer because I know everybody likes to hear, fuzzy, sweet, lovey-dovey things. But we're in life here. This is real life. This is reality. And we can't mess around anymore. This is not a time to hide your head in the sand and say, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. It's about your life, too, and your people's life. Yeah.
Someday somebody will ask you, what did you do about Standing Rock?
That's true.
Were you with them? Did you ignore it? Did you run from it?
Yeah, a lot of people are saying, what will I tell my children or my grandchildren, And you have to ask yourself about everything here, really, not just about Standing Rock, but about everything that we know is troubling and dangerous for us, for our children and our grandchildren. If the children are standing up, the star children are here, people, and they're really fighting for this. The star children are young people. They're speaking out. They know, they see, they're leading. And this is prophecy here.
Which gives me hope.
Absolutely.
Colleen, you want to say anything? Colleen?
No, you guys are doing quite well.
Oh, okay.
And besides, I've got a cheeseburger.
Oh, man. Cheeseburger. Wow.
With bacon.
Nora, with bacon yet.
With bacon. Oh. Nora,
well, I have a question.
Cheeseburgers with bacon in Italy? No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Unless you want them to commit suicide. Italians are fanatics with their food. Yeah.
What's your question?
Well, I have a little question for you, just out of curiosity. Do you believe that sometimes in order to really be able to grow and evolve, in the sense of finding that balance where you see what's wrong in the world without getting emotionally involved in it, do you believe that there could be a period where you're kind of, and of course I'm asking this question because I'm kind of going through this right now, where you feel, you have feelings, you're compassionate, you feel sad, but at the same time there's some sort of, you just feel dissociated a little bit. Is this a sign for jumping to the next level?
Oh, well,
I've been wondering about this.
Yeah, well, definitely. So there's pieces here about your question. Number one, the dissociation, you have to be really know this and be aware this could very well be an intrusive energy, because that energy wants us to be disconnected and dissociated from this. Your true nature, your true self, let's say your spirit within you, is identifying an issue that is troubling and needs help and needs assistance. And then that intrusive energy will come in and dissuade you and disconnect from you, where you could go, it's not. I call it the resistor energy. I identified this quite a while ago. It's a resistor energy. It's working, causing resistance in people who get a message from spirit or their spirit within them. That says, just to give you an example, like somebody, I'm going to go to a ceremony. I feel a very strong calling to go to a ceremony and pray. And then this resistor energy will come into the mind and say, no, maybe I'll do it another time. Or I think I'm going to go to a movie instead. Or you're awakened in the middle of the night because Spirit is calling you to pray or pay attention to a message, and or even go outside and pray. You need to pray now. And the resistor energy will come in and say, it's too cold out, or it's dark, or I have to get up early in the morning to go to work. You have to pay attention. That's a resistor energy. Puts people on the couch in front of the TV, puts you in a different space of doing something that is not what your spirit had mentioned to you or called you to do. So the other thing is this transition. We're in the time of transitioning. Again, back to prophecy. I know I talk about prophecy a lot, but it's very real. And prophecy now is we are in the time, the fifth world, entering into the fifth world, 1,000 years of peace. Now, that's not going to happen all by itself, folks. We have to participate in order to get into that energy, that frequency of 1,000 years of peace. So we are being dragged back constantly through that resistor energy, resisting participation in a higher level of frequency, which of course is our heart and love and compassion and prayer, whatever you want to call it. We're being subjected to this energy that wants to keep us in the fourth world, which is a fourth world of chaos. That's what we're experiencing on that level, or that plane of existence. But we keep vacillating back and forth between the higher frequency of the fifth world, 1,000 years of peace, and the other one keeps dragging us back. So we have
I
to
want to just interrupt here because we are at the top of the hour, and we're going to have to bring you back to continue this discussion. But I do want to say that I totally agree with what Barbara's saying, and I understand where Nora's coming from. It's a matter of being balanced yourself without going and putting all your energy into something that then takes away from you. Am I correct, Nora?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, yes.
Yeah, so what I suggest is that you understand you do not have to go to the Standing Rock yourself. It's not something that says you have to get out into the streets and do it, but you have to pay attention to it. You have to give it your attention and your positive thoughts. Your thought, what'd you call it, balloon? Bomb them with thought bombs, thought balloons. Boom. Here, everything's going to be fine. But it's only 1,000 years of peace, Barbara? Okay, listen.
I'll take it.
Thanks, Barbara, for being here with us.
Thank
Nora, as always.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful.
And Colleen, appreciate you being able to do all this. And audience, we'll be back next week. There's always good shows on this radio station. Aggie Shack simulcast over Wolf Spirit. Love you all out there, and we can do this. We can really do this. Let's just focus on it and be in control. Take over your own lives. Colleen, what you got coming up next?
Coming up next, I have Haggie Reads for you. I've got the finale for Because We Say So by Noam Chomsky. Then I'll be starting another book in the second hour called Yoga of Jesus by Paramahansa Yogananda.
Oh, wow.
And then is, of course, the Fans of Whitley Strieber show. And, of course, once again, let's see, he's talking about, she's scrolling, The Purpose and the Power of Your Soul. It's Marla Free's interview with Michael and Raphael Tamura about their work in spiritual self-healing and empowerment.
Well, again, I love Whitley. He just kind of walks the same collective consciousness line we do. Perfect for tonight, right? Or today?
Right. And then after that is another one of those stories from a life where he finishes his early years with some stories that are not in any of his books, so that ought to be interesting, deep exploration of the nature of fear of the visitors. And Jeremy didn't have anything new up this week, unless there's something coming up now. So there'll be about a 30-minute something or other, maybe before JP takes it over at 6 o'clock for Sean David Morton's Strange Universe. And then, of course, Max's show is at 10 o'clock tonight, so that's what's coming up.
Excellent. Appreciate everybody. We'll see you next week, and keep up the positive thinking, and just, be safe.
Thank you. Great show, girls.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, Nora, Barbara, Colleen. Good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you for visiting. You have been listening to World Talk with Friends, a Haggie Shack radio production simulcast over the Wolf Spirit Media Network.